So, 1 Samuel, there's some key players in here, and I won't add all these names, partly because it just adds to the length of it, but also I want you to just identify with the key players in the story. In the beginning, it talks about a man who had two wives. One was Hannah, and the other was Peninnah, and she had children, and Hannah had no children. And there's another couple players involved. There's Eli, the high priest, and his two sons. His two sons are Hophni and Phinehas. And to give you a little background, Eli's a good guy. He's a proper guy and with the Lord. And his two sons have gone astray, and they don't know the Lord. And so you have this man with two wives. His name is Elkanah. And they go up to the temple once a year. And so this is the setting. And they're now at the temple with Eli. But Hannah, he gave a worthy portion, her husband, but he loved Hannah. But the Lord had shut up her womb. And I guess, we probably could still feel this way today in some ways, women especially, but back then it was a big deal if you didn't have children. Like it was just an embarrassment. It had a lot of connotations that something was wrong, and so the women carried a heavy load, a burden when they didn't have children. And so Hannah, she wants to have children, and she got an adversary, given that she has another wife in the house. Two wives. I can imagine what that's like in the kitchen. But so Hannah, she's up at the temple. She's praying, and she says, she's under fire because the adversary is almost rubbing it in that I have children and you don't. This is kind of the setting. And as they did every year, she went up to the house of the Lord, and she provoked her. Therefore Hannah wept and did not eat. And verse 8, then said Elkanah, her husband, to her, Hannah, why weepest thou, and why eatest thou not? Why is thy heart grieved? Am not I better to thee than 10 sons? So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. And she vowed a vow, and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget my handmaid, but will give unto thy handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. And it came to pass, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli marked her mouth. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought that she had drunken. And Eli said unto her, how long wilt thou be drunken? Put away the wine from thee. And Hannah answered and said, no, my Lord, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaiden for a daughter of Baal. For out of the abundance of my complaint, grief have I spoken hitherto. Then Eli answered and said, go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him. I just want to stop here for a minute. How many people have prayed before without their voice moving, but their lips and their mind? So you got that picture of her, right? It gets misinterpreted by the high priest. It gets corrected. And then what does he do? He immediately, unknowing what she's prayed for, he agrees with her in spirit. And he says, as the Lord speaks, you will have your petition. Go back. It was the Lord her womb was tied up, right? What's God looking for? He's looking for somebody to replace the priest that's going to have to be replaced pretty soon. And so Hannah pleads with him for a Lord, promises, I will give him to you if you'll give me a child. The high priest agrees, and we'll find out very soon that that's what it needed. So sometimes we need to be in agreement. We need somebody to agree with us in prayer, right? Where two or more are gathered. Then Eli answered and said, "Go in peace." And she said, "Let thy handmaiden first find grace in thy sight." So the woman went her way and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad. Just that confidence that the high priest said, "You have whatever you petition God for," that lifted her countenance. She felt so much better. How many of you, me included, have been lifted up by a brother's positive words at a timely manner, right? And so this is why it's so important that we fellowship, that we get together. And if you can't, for whatever reason, be here, and I had many phone calls this morning, people who couldn't be here, which is fine. But don't make it a habit, because pretty soon you're alone. And you won't get these experiences that we all get by getting together. So as the story goes on, how much of it I want to read, I don't know. Let me just scan down here. "And they rose up early in the morning, worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to the house to Ramesh, and Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come about, after Hannah had conceived, that she bare a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, Because I have asked him of the Lord. And the man, her husband, Elkanah, and all his house went up to offer unto the Lord the yearly sacrifice with a vow. And Hannah went up not, and she and her husband, I will not go up until the child be weaned, and then I will bring him, and he may appear before the Lord, and there abide forever." So she skips the next couple years of going up to the temple and stays home with the child. I did some research. It's hard to really nail it down for sure, but Samuel might have been as young as 3 or 4 when he lived with Eli, the priest, forever. That's a pretty big sacrifice. What amazes me is how Samuel just fit right into it. There, you just see him serving the priest and being there. And she would come up once a year to the sacrifice and bring him a new coat, because no doubt he's growing. Right? So just a little background image. So for the child I prayed, and the Lord gave me a petition which I had asked him. Therefore also I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he liveth, he shall be lent to the Lord. And he worshiped the Lord there. And Hannah prayed and said, this is verse chapter 2, My heart rejoices in the Lord, my horn is exalted in the Lord, my mouth is enlarged over mine enemies, because I rejoiced in thy salvation. There is none holy as the Lord, for there is none beside thee, neither is there any rock like our God. Talk no more, so exceedingly proud, let not arrogance come out of your mouth, for the Lord of... This here, I won't read it all, but this is her prayer to the Lord. It's almost a poem. And she goes on exalting the Lord and what he's done and how he is. And then so we pick up the story a little further along in verse 11. And her husband went to Ramah into the house, and the child did minister unto the Lord before Eli the priest. Now the sons of Eli were the sons of Baal. That's not good, right? That's a false god. And it says, they knew not the Lord. These are people in the temple acting as priests of the Lord, but they don't know the Lord. And they came through their genealogy of Eli, through the Levites. And so this is the picture. And the priest's custom with the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the priest's servant came, while the flesh was in the seething, with flesh hooks of 3 teeth in the hand. So you've got a picture of a boiling pot, and the sacrifice is in there, and somebody's coming along with a meat hook and take some out, and that's how much the priest gets. That's his wages. These guys were taking most of it. And of course, they were supposed to let the fat be a sacrifice, a burnt sacrifice. But they were taking the fat before it had even melted. They're just taking everything. They're just corrupting everything. And the people are complaining. And Eli, the high priest, is like, I need to talk to my sons. And he does. But it doesn't have a lot of effect. So he says, wherefore the sin of the young men were very great before the Lord, for men had whored the offering of the Lord. The people got to the place where they didn't want to go to church anymore because it was so stupid. It was so wrong. What are we doing here? Right? If you could use that modern day analogy. But Samuel ministered before the Lord, being a child, girded with a linen ephod. Moreover, his mother made him a little coat and brought it to him every year. And Eli blessed her husband and his wife and said, the Lord give thee seed of this woman for the loan which is lent to the Lord. And they went into their own home. And the Lord visited Hannah so that she conceived and bare 3 sons and 2 daughters. That's a pretty big payback for one promise, right? So we have to see God's hand in all this stuff. I shared a while back Jeremiah. Jeremiah. I was talking Joshua, and dealing with the first Canaanite tribe they ran into city was Jericho, and how God dealt with it. And he said, just walk around the city and do this, and then the walls fell down. That's the only time God ever did it that way. There's no other record of God saying, walk around the city 7 times. He didn't do it that way. And you're going to see as we go through a little further here, look for it, you'll see it, is God doesn't do it the same way hardly ever. And they've made mistakes. The Israelites would make mistakes where they say, well, we'll just do what we did last time. And they'd lose the battle. And why? Because they never sought the Lord before they went to the battle. And so this is a pattern that we should recognize, and we should see it in our own lives, and we should try to watch out for it and try to correct it. Right? I sit here today with a physical challenge in my hip and leg, and you might say, in criticism, you might say, I thought you believed in healing. Which is kind of a takeaway. When somebody would use that, that's kind of a takeaway from their own responsibilities. And I could answer, I do believe in healing. I've seen lots of stuff happen. But I could also say this, I believe in good government, but I don't presently see it. Right? And I don't know how this works all the time. I'm not sure I can explain it at this point. But God works differently all the time. All the time. And we'll see that here as we go through it. So we can't always judge everything from the outside. We have to sometimes just appreciate there's more going on. And if it was really simple, I think you could probably get rid of most of the book. Right? But it is simple in one aspect. And if you can get this is the simplicity of it. Seek God first. Over and over and over again. And there's bad people in the world. Now Eli was very old and heard what his sons did unto Israel. I'm in verse 22. And all Israel, and they lay with the women that assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So they're not just stealing all the food and all the provisions. They're taking advantage of women in service to the Lord. And he said unto them, why do you these things? This is Eli talking to his sons. For I hear of your evil dealings by the people. Nay, my sons, for it is no good report that I hear. You make the Lord's people to transgress. If one man sin against another, the judge shall judge him. And if a man sin against the Lord, who shall entreat for him? Notwithstanding, they hearken not unto the voice of their father, because the Lord would slay them. We see Pharaoh, where Pharaoh hardened his heart. And then tells us later that God hardened his heart. And it looks to me like here is because they had hardened their heart toward the things of the Lord, they weren't going to hear this either, because God They had plans to slay him. Right? I'm going to tell you a quick story. I just heard this last night in a video somebody sent me with Dr. Ardis. You're familiar with him, the nicotine guy? Anyway, he was a Mormon. He told his story in quite great detail. And he was like a good Mormon. Like he was the Mormon of Mormons, you know, doing it right. But he learned something that was shocking to him. And Joseph Smith, I don't know if you know who the name is, but of course he was this Muhammad of the Mormons, right? Probably more like Muhammad than you knew. And I never knew this story. But he had something like 50 women that were concubines to him. And he told them that God told him that they needed to sleep with him and consummate this relationship, and they would have spiritual husbands. What's so different between that and what's going on back here? Yeah. Right? Who knows what they're saying? You know this idea of a covering, girls, women? This idea of a covering over your head when you pray? Yeah. I think it's your father until it's your husband. Right? So the angels don't take advantage of you. That's what the Bible says in summary, right? So anyway, just my thoughts as I go along. And the child Samuel grew on and was in favor both with the Lord and also with the men. And there came a man, God, unto Eli. So it doesn't even give a name. Somebody like Ryan shows up and reads you your mail, right? And gives you a warning. And he said unto thus, saith the Lord, did I plainly appear unto the house of thy father when they were in Egypt in Pharaoh's house? And did I choose you out of the tribes of Israel? He's talking about the tribes of Levi, which Eli is one, right? And to offer unto mine altar, to burn incense, to wear an ephod before me. And did I give unto the house of thy father all the offerings made by the fire of the children of Israel? I gave you the provision from the altar. Wherefore kick ye at my sacrifice and at my offerings, which I have commanded in my habitation. Honorest thy sons above me, to make yourselves fat with the chiefest of all the offerings of Israel, my people. Wherefore the Lord God of Israel saith, I said indeed that thy house and the house of thy father shall walk before me forever. But, so we read in the Bible sometimes, we see where God says, and it'll be like this forever. But then we can read later where it wasn't forever. You've got to remember, everything about the Old Testament was a contract covenant. I'll do this, you do that. So when they stop doing it, God's not obligated to keep his part either. And that, I can tell you, is part of the confusion today in this Jewish chosen people thing. God said he would give it to somebody else. Yeah, but they said, but it was forever. But God said he'd give it to someone else. And right here he said, I said it was forever, but I'm going to tell you now, it's going to end with you. Your family is not going to carry this mantle anymore. And he said, wherefore the God of Israel saith, I said indeed that thy house and thy house of thy father should walk before me forever. But now the Lord saith, be it far from me, for them that honor me I will honor, and they that despise me shall be lightly esteemed. Behold, the days come that I will cut off thine arm, and the arm of thy father's house, that there shall not be an old man in thine house, and thou shalt see an enemy in my habitation. In all the wealth which God shall give Israel, and there shall not be an old man in thine house forever. What a prophecy to speak into somebody's lives. You will never have an old man. Your family will never live to be old. Right? And the man of thine whom I shall not cut off from mine altar shall be to consume thine eyes and to grieve thine heart, and all the increase of thine house shall die in the flower of their age. You're going to die young. And this shall be a sign unto them. This sign that all this will happen in these families is they shall come upon thy sons, on Hophni and Peninnah. In one day shall they both die. Imagine that guy walking up to us and saying something like that. And I will raise me up a faithful priest, that shall do according to that which is in mine heart and my mind, and I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before mine anointed forever. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left in thine house shall come and crouch to him for a piece of silver and a morsel of bread, and shall say, Put me, I pray thee, into one of the priest's offices, that I may eat a piece of bread. They're going to be tossed out. They're going to come back to the temple and say, just let me be a servant at the front gate here, greeting people or something, just so I can eat. Right? Chapter 3, and the child Samuel ministered unto the Lord before Eli, and the Lord, where the Lord was precious in those days. Little sidebar, it says, there was no open visions. In other words, God wasn't speaking to the hearts and minds and dreams and visions. He only had the word. Right? And it came to pass at that time that Eli was laid down in his place, and his eyes began to wax dim, that he could not see. And ere that the lamp of God went out in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was, and Samuel was laid down to sleep. Then the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, Here I am. And he ran unto Eli, and said, Here I am, for thou callest me. And he said, I called not. Lie down again. And he went and lay down. And the Lord called yet again Samuel, and Samuel rose, went to Eli, and said, Here I am, for thou didst call me. And he answered, And I called not, my son, lie down again. Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, neither was the word of the Lord yet revealed unto him. And the Lord called Samuel again a third time, and he rose, and he went to Eli, and he said, Here I am, for thou didst call me. And Eli perceived that the Lord had called the child. Therefore Eli said unto Samuel, Go, lie down, and it shall be, if he call thee, that thou shalt say, Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. So Samuel went, and he lay down in his place. And the Lord came and stood and called as at the other time, Samuel, Samuel. Then Samuel answered, Speak, for thy servant heareth. And the Lord said to Samuel, Behold, I will do a thing in Israel, at which both the ears of everyone that heareth it shall tingle. And in this day I will perform against Eli all things which I have spoken concerning his house. When I begin, I will also make an end. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever for iniquity which he knoweth, because his sons made themselves vile, and he restrained them not. And therefore I have sworn unto the house of Eli, that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be purged with sacrifices nor offerings forever. God won't hear an offering, and he won't receive it. And therefore I have, and Samuel lay until the morning, and opened the doors of the house of the Lord, and Samuel feared to show Eli the vision. Then Eli called Samuel and said, My son. And he answered, Here I am. And he said, What is this thing that the Lord has said unto thee? I pray thee, hide it not from me. God do so to thee, more also, if thou hide anything from me of all the things that he said unto thee. Eli's saying, look, tell me everything God said, and if you don't, that'll happen to you. Well, Samuel told him everything and hid nothing from him, and he said, It is the Lord, let him do what seemeth good. And so Eli hears the same message he heard from this man who gave it to him from Samuel. And Eli says, well, let the Lord do what he's going to do. Right? And Samuel grew, and the Lord was with him, and did let none of his words fall to the ground. And all Israel, from Dan even to Beersheba, knew that Samuel was established to be the prophet of the Lord. And the Lord appeared unto Shiloh, again in Shiloh, for the Lord revealed himself to Samuel. And the word of Samuel came to all Israel. Now Israel went out against the Philistines. Now this takes on a whole new direction here as we start battling with the Philistines. But God had a plan here. And they went up against the Philistines to battle, pitched besides Ebenezer, and the Philistines pitched at Aphek. And the Philistines themselves in array against Israel. When they joined the battle, Israel was smitten before the Philistines. So they lose this battle. And they slew the army in the field, about 4,000 men. 4,000 men, that's a lot of people. And so they lost that battle. And when the people were come into the camp, the elders of Israel said, "Wherefore has the Lord smitten us to this day before the Philistines? Let us fetch the Ark of the Covenant." It was with Samuel, and it was with Eli, remember? They said, "Let's go get the Ark of the Covenant and the Lord, and bring it to Shiloh unto us, and that it cometh among us. It may save us out of the hand of our enemies." And we have examples of the Ark of the Covenant, its presence changing the atmosphere, like big time. So the people sent to Shiloh, and they might bring from the Ark of the Covenants of the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth between the cherubim, and the two sons, Eli. So we've got Eli's sons carrying the Ark of the Covenant. Okay? These are people who don't know the Lord. But they are Levites, so they could do it. And we're there with the Ark of the Covenant of God. And when the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted with a great shout, so that the earth rang again. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, "What meaneth the noise of the great shout of the camp of the Hebrews?" And they understood that the Ark of the Lord was come into the camp. Now this strikes fear in the enemy. All right? And the Philistines were afraid, for they said, "God is come into the camp." And they said, "Woe unto us, for there has not been such a thing hitherfore. Woe unto us, who shall deliver us out of the hand of this mighty God, out of these mighty gods? These are the gods that smote the Egyptians and all the plagues in the wilderness." They say to one another, "Be strong and quit yourselves like men, O you Philistines, that ye be not servants unto the Hebrews, as they had been to you. Quit yourselves like men and fight." And the Philistines fought, and Israel was smitten. And they fled every man into his tent. There was a great slaughter, for there fell of Israel 30,000 footmen. Now, if you think having the Ark of the Covenant with you in battle is the answer, now you've got some problems. Now you should be ultimately confused, right? But I don't think anybody knew what God said about Eli and his sons. I think that was just known to God, Eli and Samuel. And the Ark of the Covenant was taken. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were slain in one day. And there ran a man of Benjamin out of the army and came to Shiloh, and same day with his clothes rent and his earth upon his head. He's in mourning. And when he came to Eli, sat upon a seat by the wayside watching, for his heart trembled for the ark of God. And when the man came into the city and told it, all the city cried out. And when Eli heard the noise of the crying, he said, "What meaneth the noise of this tumult?" And the man came in hastily and told Eli. Now Eli, he was 98 years old, and his eyes were dim, that he could not see. And the man said to Eli, "I am he that come out of the army, and I fled today out of the army." And he said, what is there done, my son?" And the messenger answered and said, "Israel is fled before the Philistines, and that has been also a great slaughter among the people. And thy two sons are dead, and the ark of God is taken." And it came to pass, when he made mention of the ark of God, that he fell from off his seat backwards by the side of the gate, and his neck brake, and he died. For he was an old man and heavy. He was fat. And he had judged Israel 40 years. Folks, we want to finish well, right? Eli did finish well, but he had some problems along the way. But his sons, they never even started right, But they were in the temple. They're doing the temple worship stuff. And look what Eli, he suffers in one moment, the recognition of his two sons' death. But it's the Ark of the Covenant being taken that just shocks him. And his daughter-in-law, Peninnah, his wife, was with child, near to be delivered. And when she heard the tiding about the ark of God was taken, that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and travailed, for her pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, so she died in childbirth here, the woman that stood by her said unto her, Fear not, for thou hast borne a son. But she answered not, neither did she regard it. And she named the child Ichabod, saying, The glory is departed from Israel, because the ark of God was taken, and because her father-in-law and her husband. And she said, The glory is departed from Israel, for the ark of God is taken. I have a brother, I don't know if he's online, that I went up to visit in Edmonton, north of Edmonton there. And he had a dream many years ago, and we were talking about this. And the inquiry was about the modern day churches and everything that's going on. And I won't get into the details. I hope he'll share it one time. But in the dream, he had a picture of a old church building and kind of run down and worn out looking. And there was a sign across the door, a big X, and on it was written Ichabod. God, the glory of God is left. It's different now. Things are different. Things are going to be much more different. It's going to be good. So let's pick up the story a little bit, time permitting here, chapter 5. And the Philistines took the ark of God, brought it into the Ebenezer unto Ashdod, and the Philistines took the ark of God. They brought it into the house of Dagon. You know who Dagon is, right? Yeah. Yeah. Dagon had, he had a picture. If you looked at drawings of him, he had hands of a man, a face of a man, but a body like a fish. And the Pope wears the hat with the open top head. That's Dagon, right? It's still there today, right? And so that's who they take the ark and they put it in Dagon's altar. and God, well, you'll see what I mean. But by the time the Philistines are finished with the Ark of the Covenant, they're probably thinking, this thing needs to come with instructions, right? Because it just gets bad, right? But it does come with instructions, but the Israelite Levites had the instructions, right? So anyway, and when they of Ashdod arose early in the morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord. So this created God is now fallen off his perch, and he's slammed down, and he's bowing before the Lord. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, Dagon was fallen on his face into the ground before the ark of the Lord, and the head of Dagon, so it happens the next morning too, this time the head falls off, and the arms break off too. And so this thing's, and the head's laying, facing the Lord. A lot of the pieces are laying on the threshold. And so this tradition comes in where you don't step on the threshold of the altar of Dagon. I mean, crazy stuff, right? How do you explain how this stuff comes from the back, into our society sometimes, right? Therefore, neither the priest of Dagon nor any that come into Dagon's house tread on the threshold of Dagon and Ashdod unto this day. And the hand of the Lord was heavy upon Ashdod. This is one of the cities. And he destroyed them and smote them with emerods. Even Ashdod and the coast thereof. You know what emerods are? I looked it up in the Strongs. I knew what it was before, but I wanted to get it for your sake. It's a tumor. It's a hemorrhoid.
Yeah.
It's piles. The whole city's going big problems. Right? But the hand of the Lord was heavy upon him, and when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, The ark of the God of Israel shall not abide with us, for this hand is sore upon us, upon Dagon our God. They sent therefore the gathered all the Lord of the Philistines unto them, and said, What shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel? And they answered, Let the ark of God of Israel be carried about unto Gath, And they carried the ark of Israel to Gath, and it was so. And there, after they had carried it about, the hand of the Lord against the city, Gath, with a very great destruction. And he smote the men and the city, both small and great, and they had emerods in their secret parts. Tumors. I mean, I'm not making fun of the Lord here. I'm making fun of the Philistines. This is actually quite humorous, you know. I mean, and some are dying from the plague too, right? Because the rats and the mice, right? Therefore, they sent the ark of God into Ekron. So they sent it to another city. And they pass it on in Ekron, and a great cry came out. They have brought the ark of the covenant to Israel and slay us and our people. So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the host of the Philistines and sent away the ark of Israel and let it go again unto a place, and deadly things occurred throughout all the city. And the men that died were smitten with the emerods, and the cry of the city went up to heaven. And the ark of the Lord was in the country of the Philistines 7 months. And the Philistines called to the priests and the diviners, saying, What shall we do with the ark of the Lord? Tell us, wherefore we shall send it to his place. And they said, If ye send away the ark of the God of Israel, send it not empty, but in any wise return him a trespass offering. Then you shall be healed, and it shall be known to you why this hand is not removed from you. Then they said, What shall be the trespass offering that we shall return to him? You got to picture these guys, they're worshiping Dagon and Baal and Astaroth and a whole bunch of gods. And so they're not even familiar with the God of Israel, really. But they got the idea, you need to appease this God. And so don't send the ark back empty. And they answered, and they said, What should we send? And he said, 5 golden emerods. And 5 golden mice. So the mice representing the plague, right? And the emerods representing tumors. It's just funny. According to the number of the Lord's Philistines, for one plague was on each one of you. So 5 cities, 5 mice, 5 emerods. Golden. So they make images of the emerods, images of the mice, and we give them glory unto the Lord of God of Israel. Peradventure he will lighten his hand from us, and for all of God, all of our gods. And he says, we don't want to harden our hearts because, you know what he did to the Egyptians and Pharaoh. So now therefore make a new cart. So this is verse 7. Make a new cart. Take two cows that just are, they've never pulled a yoke before. And so they got 2 cows that just gave birth to calves. They took the calves away. And so these cows are trained in no way to know where to go. This is the plan. The cow doesn't know where to go home, nothing. The cow doesn't know. And take the ark of the Lord and lay it upon the cart, put the jewels of the gold, which ye returned from a trespass offering, in a coffer beside thereof, and send it away, that it may go. And see if it goeth up by the way of its own coast to Beth-shemesh. Then has done us this great evil. But if not, then we shall know that it is not the hand that smote us. It was a chance that happened to us. Not a chance at all. And the men did so, and took 2 cows, and tied them to a cart, and shut up their calves at home. And they laid the ark of the Lord upon the cart, and the coffer was the mice of gold and the images of the emerods. And the kine took the straight way to the way of Beth-shemesh, and went along the highway, lowing as they went, and turned not aside to the right or to the left. And the Lord of the Philistines went after them into the border of Beth-shemesh. And they of Beth-shemesh were reaping their heap harvest in the valley, and they lifted up their eyes, and they saw the ark, and rejoiced to see it. So they're now in the camp of the Israelites. And the cart came into the field of Joshua, a Beth-shemite, and stood there, where there was a great stone. They clave to the wood of the cart, and offered the kine a burnt offering. So they take the cows, they offer them as a burnt offering, they take the wagon, and they make a fire for it. And the Levites took down the ark of the Lord and the coffers that was with them, wherein the jewels were gold, put them on the great stone, and the men of Bethshemesh offered burnt offerings and sacrifices the same day unto the Lord. And when the 5 lords of the Philistines had seen it, they returned to Ekron the same day, and these are the gold and emeralds which the Philistines returned for a trespass offering unto the Lord. For Ashdod 1, for Gaza 1, for Ashkelon 1, and for Gath 1, and for Ekron 1. And the golden mice, according to the number of all the cities of the Philistines, belonged to the 5 lords, both the fenced cities and the country villages, even unto the great stone of Abel, whereon they set down the ark of the Lord, which stone remaineth unto this day in the field of Joshua in the Bethshemites. Doesn't end there. I'm just going to stop soon, but so this is the encounter the Philistines had with the Ark of the Covenant. All right? Very trying, I'm sure. Now we've got this ark, it's in the possession of it's in Joshua's place and it's in possession of the Lord, but listen to what happens here. And he smote the men of Bethshemesh because they had looked into the ark of the Lord. These are Israelites. Somebody popped the lid, dead. They're not Levites, they're not to touch it, right? And the Lord, even he smote the people, 50,000, 70 men. And the people lamented because the Lord had smitten many of the people with a great slaughter. And the men of Bethshemesh said, who is able to stand before this holy God? And to whom shall he go up from us? And they sent messengers to the inhabitants of, can't pronounce it, Kirjath-Jearim, saying, the Philistines have brought again the ark of the Lord. Come ye down and fetch it up to you. They're calling the Levites, come and get this thing. It's out of control. Like, we can't control it. We don't know what's going on. This comes to me in mind. Even God's children, by flesh and blood, the Israelites, even though it's in their camp, and even though they don't respect it properly, God kills 50,000 of them. Just stay with me for a second. What wrath will come upon those who reject Jesus, given what happened here? Right? Great wrath. Anyway, I'll stop there. We're going to go into the battles with the Philistines, and we're going to have Samuel judging Israel. He's a righteous guy, but at some point he doesn't understand, but the people want a king. And so then Saul comes into the picture. A whole different bunch of stories, but anyway, these are just some of my thoughts as I went along with this thing. I had some good laughs. I could just see these people, hey, we took their God, now they're hooped. You have no idea what's coming, buddy. You know. I just thank you, Father, for your grace and your mercy. I thank you for your goodness. I thank you for your non-changing. I thank you for your Old Testament, Lord, as it reveals just how impossible it is for anybody to fulfill the law. And I thank you for Jesus coming to fulfill this law, and thereby handing us the righteousness of it, and taking upon it and upon the cross and upon himself the sins of the whole world. And we just thank you, Father, for the grace and the mercy you've given to us as we live in this time of grace and mercy. And where sin abounds, grace abounds even more. In Jesus' name I thank you. Amen.